There are always awesome upcoming indie games to look forward to, including some sleek action titles, a gorgeous looking game taking inspiration from classic Disney movies, a Souls-like JRPGs, and much more. So let's begin with Starfire Eternal Cycle, a side-scrolling action roguelite that takes inspiration from arcade brawlers instead of platformers, having slick movement and dodge mechanics, as well as powerful attacks and abilities where every hit looks impactful due to the visual feedback. There are randomized skills and elemental powers to mix and match, with roguelite procedural generation ensuring replayability and releases soon, so check it out. A world-spanning tactical auto-battler is the Spirit Engine DX, a complete remake of a cult classic from 2003, taking inspiration from JRPGs but has real-time with pause combat. Select 3 characters from a roster of 9, which are divided into mages, riflemen, and priests, each offering unique playstyles. The characters have their own personalities and will talk to each other, affecting the combat and narrative. Combat takes center stage as the characters fire off abilities and attacks on cooldown, but you can direct them via hotkeys or radio menus. There will be 3 difficulty modes in easy, hard, and the all-new absurd difficulty. Well, of course, I love the pixel art, so if curious, check out their free demo on Steam and wishlist the game. This video is brought to you by Dreams of Another, a very interesting third-person exploration adventure game from developer Q Games, best known for the pixel junk titles including Nom Nom Galaxy and Eden, but also titles like The Tomorrow Children, with this game playing around with the concept of no creation without destruction. While this looks like an ordinary third-person shooter, your shots in this dreamlike world actually create instead of destroy, flipping traditional norms on their heads, and looks absolutely amazing. Play as the man in pajamas, revealing more about his past memories as well as those of the wandering soldier as you go through the game. Fragments of memory and emotion solidify into tangible architecture, environmental objects, and perhaps some unexpected twists and turns, with, surprisingly, a dose of humor in the dialogue to go with the more philosophical concept of the game. If interested, there's a free demo available on Steam for just 2 weeks until 16th September, so try that, wishlist the game, and look forward to the release on October 10th, 2025. The mining defense roguelite World 2 recently conducted a playtest which was well received, being the follow-up to an interesting hit and expands upon the original in a number of ways. You pilot a robo-spider up the wall, stopping to dig into it to gain resources for upgrades, then having to rush back to the vehicle to fend off waves of enemies. However, the sequel expands upon this, allowing you to burrow deeper into the wall and recover ancient technologies, having both on-foot segments where you run and dig, but also where you're able to pilot said robo-spider into the wall itself, delve into procedurally generated mines that stretch farther than before, exploring mysterious biomes, and face new, more formidable creatures lurking both above and below the surface. Extract resources, upgrade your exosuit and robo-spider with enhanced weaponry and movement options as forms of permanent progression, retaining their signature pixel art style which looks awesome, with the playtest being well received, so this should be good when it releases later this year. An isometric Souls-like action-adventure game is Memoria Wake, which released a playable demo as well, so you can check it out right now, where you need to conquer nightmares in a surreal dream realm to piece together your past and to rescue a lost friend. Curiously, your main weapon is an umbrella, which can be used to parry enemy attacks with precision timing in tight skill-driven combat rooted in reflex and rhythm. You explore beautifully crafted dream landscapes that blend wonder with unease, being technically in the dream world, yes, but one that has its share of nightmares as well. There will be new tools and abilities to unlock as you venture deeper, along with some interesting character designs in both NPCs and the enemies, looking like some sort of mix between Dreamscaper and Death's Door, so if you love this genre, do give it a go. One of my most anticipated titles is Bye Sweet Carole, a haunting narrative horror platformer that looks absolutely gorgeous, in which you must unravel the mysterious disappearance of your friend Carole Simmons and uncover the dark truth behind the eerie Bunny Hall orphanage. This has a dual setting structure of the real in-game world, as well as a surreal realm named Corolla, taking place in the early 1900s amid the rising women's suffrage movement in Britain. Explore this hand-drawn, dark fairy tale nightmare, which is so lovingly animated, being, for the most part, a side-scrolling exploration title where you're doing horror game stuff like finding key items used to progress forward. You're able to shapeshift into a rabbit to avoid deadly traps or to squeeze into tiny spaces, and can call upon a companion to do battle for you. Games like this and Cuphead are certainly visuals first, which is not necessarily a bad thing if the gameplay holds up their end of the bargain, but is the definition of video games as art and is releasing in Spooky Month, which is very appropriate. There appears to be a bump in the number of grimdark action titles, unsurprising given the popularity of games like Dark Souls, with Kaidan being the game of interest here, a third-person action title in which you take on the role of a seeker who appears to have been killed at the onset of the game, only to have negotiated a deal with the envoy for a second chance at life, now being thrust back into a once peaceful land on a mission of vengeance against the Cord Bearers. The world is Japanese-inspired, so think temples and yokai, but twisted by cosmic horror with some horrific monster designs. Not too much has been revealed, but there are some lines in the description that piqued my interest. The first being, manage a roster of unique characters, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, suggesting that you need to switch between characters and not just play as a single avatar as per the FromSoft games. Secondly, prepare for missions carefully, balance your needed supplies and tools against valuable relics to recover, which does suggest some sort of extraction element where the goal is to find and recover relics and to get out safely, but you probably have a limited number of healing items or torches or whatever consumables they're using. From the screenshots, it does suggest that there is a stamina meter, so this is a Souls-like, and a great looking one at that, and is certainly of interest. I've been reading the Tower Dungeon manga recently and love it, and while not exactly the same thing, Deep Dish Dungeon is in a similar ballpark, being a first-person survival exploration title where you have to uncover the enigma hidden in a handcrafted subterranean labyrinth. This is a self-styled survival exploration game set in a puzzly handcrafted dungeon with Metroidvania and crafting elements, and looks absolutely fascinating as a concept to me. Explore the atmospheric location, encountering enemies, then choosing to fight or run away from them, having to do survival game stuff like scavenge for resources and food items to cook to keep yourself alive. You have a campsite to call home, which serves as a home base between expeditions, taking a moment to rest, relax, and plan the next attempt, as well as craft items or upgrade gear based on your discoveries. I'm guessing that there is some sort of shortcut or looping mechanism where you discover a door or an elevator that allows you to more easily get back to camp. However, being handcrafted, I don't know if enemies will randomly respawn or if you will run out of resources, so I'm curious about the structure of the game. There's also co-op support, so you can play with friends, and looks pretty epic as a shared experience, but looks good solo as well, definitely getting up there on my watch list. A deeply emotional open-world action roguelite is Rewilders The Lost Spring, where you play as Abby, a survivor venturing back into a poisoned world to rescue your lost family and to restore damaged ecosystems. You battle your way through corrupted biomes filled with twisted creatures, using Metroidvania-style traversal options such as gliding, wall running, and grappling to reach new areas. Collect Hantu, reawaken native creatures once driven to extinction, now coming back as powerful allies, each with unique active abilities, statuses, and passive buffs to shape your combat strategy. Between runs, you retreat to your skyship base, planting gathered seeds to earn permanent upgrades and even evolving your Hantu companions, all in service of future runs. The world is procedurally generated with randomized starting points, enemies, and rewards, keeping things fresh roguelite style. So 3D monster taming Roguevania certainly appeals to me, with the contrast between the colourful skyship and the corrupted world below effectively conveying the theme, where monster taming elements is a huge plus in my book and is a high potential title. Grindworm is a psychological horror adventure game which has that throwback art style where you're trapped alive in a collapsed underground mine and must rely on a decrepit mining machine to claw your way back out. You operate in claustrophobic darkness, digging and attempting to move forward, with every rumble of the machine and twitch of the walls heightening the sense of dread. According to the developers, something doesn't want you to leave, so it will be a struggle, with there being hints of reality warping and distorting the longer you stay trapped underground, probably due to a lack of oxygen or something, but it's meant to be a short 1 hour or so experience that is somewhere in the vicinity of Iron Lung. This next title comes to us from the developer of Astria Ascending from 2021, who are taking another crack at the JRPG with Lost Hellden, adding in some action while retaining many of the elements that makes the genre what it is. There is a fascinating setup where in this world, citizens face a lifelong battle against sin, being bound to one of the 7 deadly sins at birth, where those who resist their urges are promised eternity in the sacred land of Hellden, but for those who succumb, a fate worse than death awaits. It tells the story of a pair of twins, one who is born without sin, and the other who is bound to all 7, and so our story begins with our protagonist in pursuit of his missing brother. There will be 8 playable characters with unique skill trees and jobs, having a phased battle system that blends real-time action with turn-based combat, as you exploit elemental strengths, positioning, timing, as well as summons and powerful abilities to take out your enemies. It has an absolutely gorgeous hand-painted art style, mixed in with 3D characters, very Final Fantasy IX looking, with overworld exploration, hiding secrets, collectibles, and perhaps a hidden boss or two. Like every great JRPG, this will have its own in-universe game named Hexagon here, with a sprawling, epic JRPG style story and will be for fans of the genre. A haunting folklore-driven horror adventure game is Kumarn the Wandering Spirit, being made by a developer out of Thailand and draws inspiration from their culture. You play as the titular childlike spirit who must journey through a nightmarish version of Thailand to find a place to belong. You creep through 6 unsettling chapters filled with haunted villages, forsaken graveyards, and ancient shrines, using stealth and environmental puzzles to evade vengeful ghosts. Definitely having Little Nightmare vibes. Interestingly, you are not entirely alone and have a loyal zebra spirit companion of all things, kind of random, but maybe there's a deeper significance, and just when you get used to having a companion, separation then cranks up the tension. Every step in this creepy world will test your timing and resolve as you find a way to get past these horrors, and if any one of you have watched Thai cinema and Thai horror in particular, you know that these can be pretty freaky, so I'm interested to see what they can do in video game form. The Extraction game is supposed to be the next big pot of gold, with the developer of Wolcen Lords of Mayhem trying their hand at it, announcing Gods, Death and Reapers, one that looks like an isometric action RPG which is their wheelhouse, but differing in terms of structure. You play as a newly appointed Reaper, serving death itself in a post-apocalyptic dark fantasy world which lies in ruins, and your task is to fight to restore balance. This looks gorgeous, as expected for a modern ARPG, where you explore richly detailed environments inspired by mythology, beginning in Norse realms and possibly expanding to more areas, Titan Quest style. Enter high-stakes PvPvE zones with the goal of extracting valuable loot while fighting monsters and even other Reapers, where surviving each run is the ultimate test of skill. This is currently in an alpha testing phase, so who knows whether it will make it to release or not, but you can apply for access via their Steam page, with plans to add a single player story campaign with no risk of loss, and even a PvE only co-op mode on top of the main extraction mode. I'm not sure how this will affect what seems like the core gameplay experience, since fragmenting a user base with 3 separate modes might not be the best idea for a game like this, but who knows, so I'm glad they are at least swinging for the fences. The moment I saw The Secret of Weepstone, I was absolutely enthralled with the look, being a bleak, dice-driven first-person dungeon crawler, being very 1980s D&D inspired, which I have no particular nostalgia for, but I do still think there's something special here. Byron, the Lord of Weepstone, is ill and is haunted by visions of the occult, so a party of up to 8 desperate villagers must delve into the abandoned keep beneath their dying town to uncover the source of these cursed dreams and to bring hope back to their people. This is about as old school as it can get, as you chart branching dungeon paths in hand-drawn black and white visuals inspired by classic tabletop RPG manuals, rolling dice for every skill check and attack, unlocking treasures, solving deadly traps, and facing dangerous enemies. Interestingly, death grants unique mortal favors, which can be used to strengthen your party, so all is not lost. But again, how good does this look? So what is old, then new again, since this has parallels to the legend of Grimrock, which is more than 13 years old at this point. The survival crafting sandbox remains as popular as ever, with an adorable looking entry being Wildekin, where you wake up stranded in the wild and must build, explore and survive, having co-op support for up to 4 players and looks like fun with friends. Explore procedurally generated islands, fight monsters and rescue lost Wildekin, who then helped to rebuild your town, being a core part of the progression on top of crafting gear, growing crops and decorating buildings. I like town or village building in games, and it appears to be rather developed here, since you can assign jobs to inhabitants and even open stores like a forge, a workshop, or something called an inventorium emporium, which helps in the exploration and combat portion. Like most farming and life sim titles, there will be seasonal events and contests, as well as a variety of quirky quest objectives to complete, increasing your standing in town as you do these. Combat is present but looks a little basic, but I suppose that might not be the main appeal, since it is more about crafting and building with your friends, with a charming pixel art look and looks cute. A satirical roguelite tower defense game is No Tithe for Olaf, where you play as a stubborn farmer in 17th century Norway, determined to defend your harvest from the king's greedy tax collectors, igniting an uprising in the process. You build eccentric towers, such as unassuming goats used to battle the taxmen and to send them packing, ride into battle on your trusty goat steed and get your hands dirty, but don't forget to tend to the farm, since that is the source of all your power. It is a roguelite, so there is randomization and replayability, with the theme and concept definitely being unique, and is one example of why I love indie games. Moving on to a very different kind of medieval title is Band of Crusaders, a dark fantasy strategy RPG where you become a Grand Master of a knightly order, having to defend Europe from a growing demonic invasion by recruiting crusaders, growing your camp, and commanding your forces in real-time tactical battles. Play in a sandbox world which is fully simulated, as the world, scarred by sin and heresy, reacts to your decisions and actions. Manage up to 20 crusaders at a time, whose skills, backgrounds and synergies determine the outcome of every fight. Upgrade your stronghold with buildings for recruitment, healing, training and repairs, and powering your order with more flexibility and strategic depth to take on increasingly dangerous threats. Combat is in real time, but you can pause the action to fine-tune your positioning and strategy, with the cost of failure being high, since Crusader death is permanent, so every decision matters. You can customize your characters through a universal skill tree, not being limited by any particular character class, so you are free to mix and match active, passive and semi-active abilities to customize your crusaders and their role within your order. Over time, the demons get stronger and the other human factions will react accordingly, not all of them friendly to you if I'm guessing, with time of day and even changing seasons affecting the simulation, so you have to be careful when planning your next move. There will be epic boss battles against gigantic demons, looking so good, and is an interesting take on the strategy RPG. Just a quick breather here for the ultra cute Dodo Ducky, a quirky perspective-shifting puzzle platformer that mixes side-scrolling and 3D sections and looks cute. You play as Dodo, a brave, slightly clueless and misnamed duck, on a mission to rescue your abducted chicken friends from aliens, leap through charming, cozy worlds and switch instantly between 2D and 3D perspectives to solve platforming puzzles, exploring the levels and uncovering hidden secrets due to the perspective change. Discover characters like a capybara who sells caps, which you can befriend and ride around on, even having a photo mode to snap cute pictures. Battle, splash, flap, and quack, thanks to its very own dedicated quack button, and flip entire levels on your head, looking absolutely charming, so I hope it's cleverly designed in terms of the puzzles. Back to something more grimdark in Armageddonica, a roguelite action RPG RTS hybrid where you command an army and lead your troops into battle with your hero character, attempting to reclaim a ruined world from the dire gods before they turn it to ash. This is self-styled as the evolution of the action RPG, where you control a champion hero in visceral, real-time ARPG combat, while your autonomous army marches by your side. You're only controlling the hero, but your attacks and abilities will be critical to turn the tide of battle as you strategically take out enemy units. For example, while your troops are clashing at the front line, you could sneak around and then take out the mages and archers at the back, rather than stupidly chipping away at the tanky units up front, and will have roguelite style choice of randomized upgrades, Vampire Survivor style, as you exponentially grow in power. Somehow, there is a base building element as well, with a resource counter in the top bar, which should be used to recruit troops, although you don't appear to have worker units to gather these, so there must be some other way of getting them. Battles are targeted at 10 to 30 minutes each, which will be part of a larger, procedurally generated campaign, so if you love RTS like me but want less micro, then this will be of interest. JRPG fans rejoice, since if you grew up with the genre, I do have some awesome looking games in this list, including Star Bites, a story-driven mecha JRPG where you guide Lukida, a scavenger on the desert world of Bitter, and her partner Mecha on a journey to escape the wasteland and to uncover the planet's hidden truths. You explore the endless dunes, collecting parts and relics that let you strengthen your mech's core, customize its weapons, armor, and outward appearance using it in tactical turn-based battles. Its unique mechanic is the driver's high gauge that charges when hitting enemies or when getting hit, and once full, lets you immediately act again to disrupt enemy strategies. You can recruit allies with their own mechs, each with special abilities as well, with the visuals in this simply looking so good and will be for fans of the genre. Speaking of great looking games, a narrative-driven action RPG is Town of Zoz, where you return home as Ito, the reluctant shaman chef, to uncover a haunting magical presence threatening your family's land and to reunite a fractured community through empathy and heroism. You are slashing through enemies with your trusty machete, gathering ingredients from magical critters, and then crafting dishes that forge bonds with townsfolk or fuel your strength. Explore a vibrant village, alive with secrets, as you team up with companions whose abilities aid you on your journey. Cooking isn't just for buffs, it's your bridge to building trust with the villagers, having a stunningly beautiful art style, and is a no-brainer pick. A game that kind of went instantly viral is Recoin Coin Pusher Roguelike, the next entry in the gambling-adjacent roguelite, where indie developers use the very same tricks that casinos use to inject an unholy amount of dopamine in your brain. This is a coin pusher roguelite deck builder where you combine special coins with powerful items to trigger satisfying synergies and basically see numbers go up. There are interesting interactions between the coins, such as seed and water to grow money trees, or cat coins to hunt rat coins, with over 100 types that form the build for the run. It will have unique playable characters as well, each with a different set of themed coins for more variety, and is dangerous in the same way that Balatro was, but perhaps more accessible since you're not forming poker hands or anything, just choosing where to drop coins, also being picked up by Balatro's publisher, who really are crushing it as well. We also got the new trailer for Prison of Husks, a nostalgic-looking Souls-like RPG where you play as a doll in a painted afterlife and press onward to reunite with your beloved before the world's beauty crumbles away. Explore a dense, interconnected environment, uncovering secrets and looping shortcuts while battling pigment-stealing foes, which might be the currency in this game which allows for upgrades. There's a range of weapons, including pistols to melee weapons, of course having a parry mechanic, as well as mystical rings and brooches which grant a variety of upgrades. This looks old school cool, more akin to Demon Souls, but don't let the look fool you, it does look very challenging as Souls-likes should be. I remember asking you in the comments about why the JRPG as a genre seems to be rather popular in France, and it comes down to history and game distribution, with the classic Japanese RPGs like Final Fantasy developing a strong fan base there, which has led to French developers making games in this genre but with their own distinct flair, another example of which is Edge of Memories from Midgar Studio, the follow-up to Edge of Eternity from 2021. This is set in the same world but on a different continent and tells a different story, this time of Eileen, a nomadic soul whisperer who battles a spreading plague called the Corrosion that twists beings into grotesque forms and must harness that very same corruption within herself to prevent the world's collapse. Travel through a vibrant but corrupted continent and form alliances with the other characters, adding them to your party to help fight back against the plague. Combat is in real time, where it's always interesting to see developers go from turn-based JRPGs to action combat JRPG, with flashy animations and devastating techniques, also being able to unleash a berserker form for brutal executions. You have a loyal feline mount which you can use to explore the overworld, and again looks absolutely gorgeous, so look out for this in 2026. Another one of my most anticipated games is Ball Pit, a roguelite brick breaker which has been done before as a concept, but not like this, adding in almost Vampire Survivors style number of enemies and insane power-ups and combos. They just released a new trailer for the Shield Bearer character, one with an invincible shield which deflects balls back at enemies, turning it into more of a classic arcade-style brick breaker, and I'm curious to see how this will be balanced. This releases in October, so I'm excited and should be up there among the best games of the year. We did also get a teaser trailer and a new 4-minute long video for a new faction reveal for Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era in the Schism faction, the 6th faction, which is all new, comprising of a group of breakaway elves who delve into forbidden eldritch magic, which pretty much goes how you expect it to, getting twisted into horrible tentacled monsters that would make Cthulhu proud. This is alongside Temple, Necropolis, Sylvian, and Dungeon, which are based on existing factions, as well as the all-new Hive faction, where I love this series, so despite not really being an indie game, I really wanted to show this off. Watch this video for more of the best indie games.